I've been living here all my life. I was born here, and that's why I'm here. It's 82 years I've been here.
82 years in Mud Lake.
Yeah.
And your family,
Yeah, my family, my grandparents lived here, were born here, and lived here all their lives too, and my parents.
so what what makes Mud Lake special? Why have you lived here for 82 years?
Because I love Mud Lake. Yeah, it's the best place in the world.
What makes Mud Lake different than other places?
I don't know. It's unique. It's different because I don't know. Everybody is close to each other, close to one another, and we can get to the valley as often as we want. So we got the best of two worlds in a way.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's always good to come home to Mud Lake.
Right. It was 8 months ago yesterday.
8 months yesterday.
8 months yesterday that
Yeah.
the big flood happened. Were you home on that day?
Yeah, I was home that day, yes. And in the afternoon, Craig came over and told me that the water is rising. And he said, that was in the evening before supper. And he said, I think you should pack a few things because we might have to leave tomorrow. So I did that. I packed a few things, and that night I went to bed and everything was okay. And 1:30 he called, said we gotta go.
Yeah. During that day, besides Craig making that phone call to you, did it look different to you?
Oh yes, it looked different. It really looked different. When I walked out the door to go to the helicopter that morning, the water was right up level with the bank. And I had to walk up to the power plant to get the helicopter, and there was a couple of places there where the water was up already up over the bank. Not deep, but it was up. Yeah. And they said the next day after I left later that day, they said the water was right up to my gate. But that's as far as it got. So I was one of the lucky ones, really. Mm-hmm.
Had you ever seen anything like that in Mud Lake before?
Never, no. We've seen the water high before, but not like that. Not scary high like that. No. You're 11.
And how are you feeling when you went to bed?
Good. Yeah, I said you might have to go tomorrow, but yeah, that's okay. I didn't think it was going to come any higher.
And the 82 years that you've been living here, you'd never seen that before?
Never. And I'm sure my parents didn't either, because they always talked about the flood they could remember, and the farthest house up this way is on very low land. And one year that they heard of, my parents heard of this now, that the water came up to the floor in their house.
And that was a
that was the big thing.
The big flood.
Yeah, that's one they could remember, or there people talking about, And that was my parents talking about that, what their parents saw. And that's about the lowest land in Mud Lake, I think. And I'm on the highest.
Right.
So that's why I didn't have it so bad as the rest.
But it came as far as your front gate.
Yeah, they said next day, the same day I left, later that day, it was up to the gate.
Said you went to bed at 11. And you got a phone call?
1:30, Craig called.
Craig called you.
He said, we got to go tonight. But we couldn't go till it started getting daylight. Because the helicopter couldn't come in the dark.
And could you see out your window where the water was at that time?
When I left, I was afraid to look. It was too bad to look at, I found. But when I left that morning to go up, the water was right to the top of the bank, and there was a big ice pan stuck in one of the trees there on the top of the bank. Yeah. And Bev's little boat was down the bank all that time, all that day. She got me to check on her boat a couple of times that day to see if her boat was coming up higher. And the first time her boat was down where it should be, and I went around 2 o'clock, and her boat was floating then. And when I left that morning, her boat was right up on top of the bank. She was on a long rope, so yeah, right up on top. And that was a bad sight. That was bad to look at. Just imagine, looking out straight across that water, level with the bank.
So after the phone call at 1:30 in the morning.
Oh yeah, I got up then, and I was very nervous then, and I didn't know what to do, and I was there alone, me and Pookie, and I just waited, just walking the floor and waiting, and I didn't know what to do, really, and I found out later that I did things that I don't remember doing. I put things upstairs that I didn't know I put up there even until after I got home, a couple of weeks later.
So you're putting things upstairs to
Yes, I was
protect
putting
your
things
things.
upstairs and not even knowing I did. I put some things up that I remembered because someone called and told me to put some of my books in that away, up high up, but just put them on the steps. But after I was in the valley, well, I called on to Christine and got her to bring me up some clothes that I knew I had. And she couldn't find it. And after I got home, that's where I was, upstairs. Yeah.
How long have you been living in this home?
This home right here, since 1955, 56. I was married in 55 and we lived here since 56. Yeah. But like I said, I lived with my parents before that.
So you've been in this home ever since 1955?
Yeah, 56.
56.
Yeah.
And so all of everything from your family,
Mm-hmm.
can you tell me just a little bit about what you have upstairs? You brought us up yesterday, but just to give
Yeah,
people an
well,
idea of what's here.
Well, I've got more than you saw upstairs too, because I got an organ over 100 years old. I didn't show you that. And some furniture, and a lot of old things upstairs, like you saw. Old things belong to my grandmother, and like her old doll and the old carriage, and oh my goodness.
Those records.
What's that?
All the records that you
Oh,
show.
them records, Harry Lauder records, mostly.
Right.
Harry Lauder, he was a big singer way back.
Because the records and what do you call the machine the old...
Oh, the gramophone.
The gramophone
Yeah.
that you have up there.
With the horn, with the big
yes.
black horn. Yeah.
So all these records that we were looking at are from 1903,
Yeah.
1904.
Yeah.
And all the family antiques that you have upstairs are all from your family
All
here
from-
in Mud Lake.
Yes, here in Mud Lake. All of it. Yes.
So that was...
My mother was a school teacher and a Sunday school teacher. She didn't teach school here, but she taught school. I told you, I think she was a traveling teacher when she was young. But after she got married, when I was in grade 3 and 4, I think they couldn't get a teacher here that year. So she taught them 2 years here. And but her old school registers, I didn't show you them. They're dated back to 1913. But the Sunday school register, like you saw on the wall, that was in the 60s, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
And all the children that were going to the school here.
Yes, and there was a lot of kids then.
Right.
Yeah. No, there's only 3.
And you were telling me about Mud Lake being one of the first community.
That's what we were always told, that this was the first community, because we had the first hospital, the first school, and the first church.
There's,
Yeah.
I know one of the graveyards has a very old...
Yes, a very old headstone. And what did I say, 1861? 1861, I think, was the date of that one. Yeah, and they were all like 1860s, and some was 1903 and like that, but that was the oldest one that I saw, that I found anyway. And it must have been hard getting headstones. We were wondering how did they ever get headstones here back then?
Right. That it still lasts today.
Yeah.
It's still there.
Couldn't have been easy getting anything here then.
Right. And the flood did affect those parts of Mud Lake
Well,
as well.
yeah, I guess that part too, but the regular headstone graveyard down here, yeah, that was flooded. 'Cause we saw pictures of it on TV, you know, halfway up the headstones. Never ever heard tell of that.
Right.
No.
So you're home alone that night when the flood is happening?
I was home alone, yeah, I was home alone. And I was walking the floor, like I said, and I saw a flashlight coming up from up this way. So I went out, and that was a couple from down here, Marge and Dorman. And they just come up to check to see how high the water was up here. And I went out talking to them, and they told me if I could come up if I wanted to. And I said, no, I'd rather stay here with my little dog.
You didn't feel that you felt more comfortable to stay home?
Yes, because I knew they were going to come along this way and pick me up anyway, you know?
Right.
And they did. Yeah.
So what was it like to get to the helicopter from here?
It wasn't bad. I had to walk, but there was, like I said, there was people helping me, you know, and there was a couple of spots of water, like I told you, between here and the helicopter, but not deep. Just
Was it a far walk?
from here up to you don't know where the hydro plant is, do you?
No, so...
No, it's just up here on the stem bank before you go down on the ice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So not a far walk,
Not a far walk.
but lots of water.
You have lots of water. But we didn't have to walk through much water.
Okay.
We walked in around.
What was it like to leave your home that morning?
Oh, it was sad. It was a bad feeling. I can't explain it, what it felt like. It was really awful. And it didn't really hit me, I don't think, until I got there.
Until you got to the other
Up to
side.
Beverly's, yeah. And I tell you something else too. I'm not going to be down here this spring when the ice is breaking up. I ain't going up there again for that period.
Right.
Yeah, I'd be afraid to stay down here now in the spring.
Right.
Yeah.
So your plans now are to be away during the spring this year.
During the spring, yeah.
And then you'll come back.
And then I'll come back until the Muskrat Falls is ready to go ahead, and then I'm gone again because I'd be more scared even then. We'd never rest in peace then, you know. It's too scary.
So what you're saying is when the project is up
When
and
the
running?
project is over and up and running, yes, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. I wouldn't be able to live here then because it's too risky. Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to describe, you know. For me, it is how I felt that time. It was hard. It was really bad. I didn't know how much worse it was going to get. I did when we left there because, you know, it was still coming in. But it must have started going back again that evening, I guess. Yes.
For that while. How long was it before you were able to come back to your home?
Oh, I was up there for 2 weeks. I didn't have to stay that long, I don't think, because the helicopter was making trips, but I stayed for 2 weeks. Yeah, make sure.
Right. And how did it feel to get back home?
Oh, it felt good, but different. Everything was so different and so ugly. All the old garbage out by the houses, you know, where people were clearing out their basements and that, and it was awful. And even here, out on the bank where I used to walk my dog every day, where there was little hollows, you could see all the little debris in the hollows, you know, where the water was. Yeah.
Can you describe what it's been like living here since then? It's been 8 months?
8 months, yeah. Well, it's not the same. It's not the same. There's people gone. It's too many people gone, you know, and there's nothing is back to normal yet. Not really. And I don't know if it ever will be now or not. But it's not yet. We're trying, but it's still not back like it used to be.
And is that because there's, you know, people that aren't back here
Yeah,
yet?
that's part of the reason. That's the biggest reason, I'd say. Yeah.
Is there an overall feeling here of, you know, I guess there is of worry that what's
there
to
is,
come?
definitely, yes.
That's kind of in the air.
Yeah, and like we can't make plans. Like we have our fair every year, our church fair, and we can't make plans for that for this spring, for June because we don't know what's going to happen in May, you know. Maybe if we get through the spring, we might be able to make plans for the fall. But we can't for the spring.
And that fair has been
Yes, that's a big thing for Mud Lake.
and a big thing for the rest
Yeah,
of
that's
Lake
right.
Melville.
Everybody look forward to that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you know how long that's been running now?
Oh my, long time. Ever since, well, I don't know how long. I can remember back to the 40s when it used to be, when it used to be a fair, but it was a little different then.
Right.
We used to have it Friday nights instead of Saturday, and they dance till daylight.
Nice.
They'd have a basket sale and supper in the hall, and whoever had a basket would take their partner home and have lunch, have a supper, and go back to the hall and dance then the rest of the night. Well, they had sales and suppers, you know, but that was their fare. But
Right.
since then, I don't know when they started having all the sports and stuff, all the activities, later in the 60s, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
So there really is, there's no plans to have that this
There's
spring.
no plans yet, no.
As a woman that's been here for 82 years, what do you think was the reason for this?
Oh, an Alcor, no doubt, in my mind. Yeah, because it's too different. It's too obvious. That's what I think, and I'll always think that. When they started talking about it first, we all wrote letters to the government to not to do it, not to go ahead with it. And
What was your concern back then?
well, we didn't want that project to happen because of we were thinking not so much about a flood, then it's about the water and environment. I mean, you know, that was our concern then. And our river, our beautiful river, spoiled. Yeah.
And back then you certainly didn't ever imagine that.
No, never imagined this. No.